So I'm going to start by introducing myself. And I've done many things in artificial intelligence and data science and analytics. Most recently, I was at the Vector Institute for Artificial Intelligence, developing technical education, where I met some of the co-founders of ChainML. I've also written a children's book about data science, and I'm working on a children's book right now about workforce disruptions and job losses due to AI, also for kids sort of between 1 and 12. So I'm here to talk to you today about a little bit about the work that I do at ChainML, which is we're developing agents for a variety of different tasks. We're also leveraging the blockchain technology to be able to coordinate and orchestrate those agents and have that decentralization and that ownership of the agents that people create. But today I'm wearing the hat of AI education. Right, that's why I'm here. And the talk today is about EDI, equity, diversity, and inclusion, and artificial intelligence specifically. Rapid fire, I'm going to go through a few examples of interactions that I've had with different models, right? So I check a few boxes: black, female, immigrant, from Africa, etc. So if there's going to be bias, I may encounter it. So let's look at some of the examples. I was developing a program at the Vector Institute for AI to teach about bias. And I was building models to be able to demonstrate when bias occurs. So this is a BERT model, classic. And if you typed in black people into the BERT model, what you ended up with, and you ran that through a sentiment analysis tool, you would find overwhelmingly negative sentiment just around that term. And if you did the same thing for white people, you would find the sentiment analysis would be overwhelmingly positive. But that's one example, and who uses BERT anymore? We're not cavemen. Now we're using ChatGPT. If I punch into ChatGPT, Shingai, Manjengwa, this is as of data, I think it was September when I was doing this, it was able to generate about 80–90% of the content about me and my profile. I have a profile online. Most of the information was correct, but actually it got some things wrong. And consistently, no matter how many times I ran it, it never said that I went to an African university. I went to the University of Cape Town, fantastic education there, but always it hallucinated that one detail that I went to a North American university. I did a LinkedIn blog post about it. I do keynotes all over the world for a variety of different topics, and one of the things that ChatGPT is fantastic for is creating those blurbs, all right? So I put in some talking points and I say, ChatGPT, give me a blurb for this talk I'm doing. And it says, great, Shingai is a data scientist, blah, 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 blah. He is going to be talking about blah, 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 blah. And I say, hey, how do you know Shingai is a he? And it says, oh, sorry, nothing in the text suggested that, they. Now, we have to remember, this is not a repository. It's not fishing from historical content and reproducing it. It's generating it. We pay these generative models to create. Here's another example. Also teaching a course on bias at the Vector Institute. I was working with Parinaz Shobani. She's a data scientist at Georgian. And she told me the story, and we made it a case study for the course, where Turnitin software that's used to detect cheating in universities and colleges had a disproportionately high false positive rate for non-native English speakers. All right, false positives for non-native English speakers, right? This was detected before it went out into the wild, and it's really the case for how diversity can be a risk mitigation strategy in your organization because somebody picked it up because they were a non-native English speaker. This photo was taken in Germany. I was representing Canada at the G20 summit. There's a micro summit that happens for entrepreneurs. And we were going through different centers of excellence to look at new technologies. And on this occasion, we saw a facial recognition tool that would recognize my face and give some probability about my age. It recognized my colleagues on either side, my colleagues behind me, and it did not see me at all. I could have done cartwheels in front of that camera. It just didn't recognize me as a person. Now, I know you're probably saying, Shingai, enough, we get it, there's bias in AI. Well, there's also bias in the hardware. At the Vector Institute for Artificial Intelligence, somebody posted on the Slack channel, if you have a dark colored mug, right, and you want to make coffee, coffee is critical for machine learning research. If you have a dark colored mug, the coffee machine is not going to work for you. So the hack is to wave your hand under the sensor, and then that way the start button will be activated and you can get your coffee. So I posted in the thread, hey, what if you have a dark colored hand? And somebody responded, it's going to catch fire, don't attempt to engage, call me and I will get you some coffee. Right, but one of the great researchers there, Lale Syed Kalantari, said, hey, this is actually a reason for us to do a paper to talk about some of the biases that occur because of the hardware. I also teach now a course to policymakers in Canada about artificial intelligence more broadly, and this is one of the assignments. When I teach about AI, I get people to do coding, essential, case studies, and a capstone. The capstone is them just applying what they've learned, and so we can have evidence of learning. But part of the coding exercise is to change their relationship with AI. It's not a mythical creature, it's models. And so they do this exercise where you detect parking, classic, and then we start off with the pixel density threshold of 900, and then I ask them to change it to 100, and they run it again. And then they see, oh wow, the number of parking spots has changed. We then have a really rich conversation about how pixel density thresholds matter, because when you run these models, or when you want to put this model in your smart city to detect people crossing the road, that's going to impact me, because if you have a grainy resolution, if the lighting is not good, that camera may not be able to detect me. Search engines. I know search engines are not classically AI, fine, but where does AI data come from? Right now, as of this taping, if you type in beautiful face into your search engine of choice, you'll get what I'll describe as a homogeneous set of images. And ironically, if you're in Johannesburg in South Africa and you type in beautiful face there, you're going to get the same sort of homogeneous set of images. And that's just to highlight that the training data is a key component here, and it too may be biased. So when this happened, Gemini, I said, fantastic. This is a learning opportunity, because now more people have had the experience of being misclassified by AI, of AI going rogue. And I still think that that's the case. We need to be doing far more to teach and educate about bias in AI. So in conclusion, I have some pragmatic steps for you. Education, education, education. Educate yourselves, educate your stakeholders about AI, and educate your models so that the distributions they're trained on match the distributions they're going to be deployed on. I also want you to do benchmarking and testing. You are never going to know who's being adversely affected by your AI unless you have those benchmarks in place. And nothing's stopping you from doing proactive bias testing on your models. And then lastly, I advocate for an AI hotline, right? We can't have an automated system taking information about AI issues. I advocate for having people actually respond to, and there's recourse associated with any time that we have AI misbehaving in the wild. And we need to collect data about it so that we can respond. And that's it. Those are my practical steps, my pragmatic approach to EDI and AI, and pixel density thresholds matter. Thank you.